Nostradamus predicted that King Charles III will abdicate the throne. Claims of this quadrant saying that Queen Elizabeth will die around 2022, well, that has happened, and that Charles agrees to abdicate in favor of his son, William, obviously. Michael Nostradamus, the French astrologer, physician, and reputed seer, best known as Nostradamus, predicted that the reign of King Charles III will be short and sweet according to a new interpretation of his prophecies. So we'll have to see if that comes to fruition. The seer who allegedly predicted the rise of Hitler, the Great Fire of London, the assassination of John F. Kennedy, and the 9/11 terror attacks, to name a few, also suggested that King Charles' youngest son, Prince Harry, may take over the throne. How is that possible? Nostradamus' written work, Century 8, Quadrant 97, he spoke of great powers changing and a kingdom growing no more. A kingdom growing no more. Isn't that something? MSN reports an author and leading expert on Nostradamus, Mario Redding, has suggested that the seer predicted the exact year of the Queen's death in cryptic poems written in 1555. Redding had written about Nostradamus' poem and wrote, quote, "The preamble is that Queen Elizabeth II will die circa 2022 at the age of around 96, 5 years short of her mother's term of life." That's exactly what has happened. According to Redding, when Nostradamus mentioned the words King of the Islands in one of his poems, the astrologer was referring to the fact that much of the Commonwealth will break away during King Charles III's reign. He also claimed Prince Charles will be 74 years old in 2022 when he takes over the throne. That's exactly where it is now. But the resentments held against him by a certain proportion of the British population following his divorce from Diana, Princess of Wales, still persists. No kidding, everybody knows it's compromised. Now, according to Redding, King Charles will be forced to abdicate due to his age, and after that, a certain someone will take over who was never expected to rule the throne. A man will replace him who never expected to be king. Wow. Redding said, does that mean that Prince William, who would have expected to succeed his father, is no longer in the picture? The author mentioned that if Prince William will not take over, then by default Prince Harry will become the king. Well, what about wait a minute, that's not so. What about Prince William's sons? The quadrants, because it says quadrant concerning 2022, quadrant 1022, because they disapprove of his divorce, a man who later they considered unworthy, the people will force out the king of the islands. A man will replace him who never expected to be king. This quadrant will come as no surprise to the British people, as it has wide implications. The first is that Queen Elizabeth II will die circa 2022 at the age of around 96, 5 years short of her mother's term of life. Prince Charles will be crowned in her stead and become king of the islands, the implication here being that he is no longer king of other regions in the world over which his mother reigned, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, etc., which will have, in the interim, become republics. Prince Charles will be 74 years old in 2022 when he takes over the throne, but the resentments held against him by a certain portion of the British population following his divorce from Diana, Princess of Wales, still persist. The pressure on him is so great, and his age so much against him, that Charles agrees to abdicate in favor of his son. The question is, which son? For in the last line, Nostradamus makes it very clear that, quote, a man will replace him who never expected to be king, end quote. Does this mean that Prince William, who would have expected to succeed his father, is no longer the picture, and that Prince Harry, by process of default, becomes king in his stead? That would make him King Henry IX, aged just 38. We'll see what happens. This is by Neem Harris on News Punch. Please leave your comment. Thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.